Let's skip the intro and just get right into it. So first, let's take a look at all the 4-star characters and their eidolons. First up is Shu Sang. I call her Susan because I don't know how to actually pronounce her name, so we're just going to call her Susan for now. Now, Susan is honestly a very good unit and has been carrying me pretty hard throughout the game. There aren't really any good options when it comes to breaking physical weakness in the game right now, unless you were lucky enough to get Clara, who is destroying content. Most people use Fire Blazer instead of the physical Blazer because of the lack of defensive units, and Natasha is a healer. Susan is incredibly good at breaking enemies who are weak to physical, and there seems to be a lot of physical enemies in the game right now, at least at my current progression, especially against Kafka and Gepard. She just completely wrecks them. She's basically a 5-star carry for physical DPS. You can use her skill, then follow it up with an ultimate, advance forward by 100%, and then you're able to use your E skill again. So it's E, Alt, and then E. This combo completely annihilates the toughness bar. And then to supplement that, she does a lot of damage on the weakness break itself, thanks to her sword explosion and the fact that physical weakness break does a percentage of the enemy's HP, so you can get a ton of burst damage on the weakness break. She gets a lot of benefits from enemies being broken. On top of the extra damage, she also gets more speed. If you have her E1, her skill point cost is nullified when you attack a weakness broken enemy, which is actually insane for your skill point economy. Her E2 is laughable. Her E4 is decent because, again, physical weakness break does a lot of damage, and her kit revolves around it. Her E6 is pretty powerful, giving her more speed and therefore more break chances and damage. Overall, a very solid character. Her most notable constellations are her E1 and her E6, so I would try to go for those if you want. Personally, I'm actually just pulling on the banner for E1. I would actually prefer getting her E1 over getting Jing himself. I'm probably one of the very few people in the world who don't actually want Jing and are hoping to lose the 50-50, but I'll get into that later. So literally right as I was editing this video, at like 30 pity, I ended up getting him when I didn't want to. At least I got my E1 Su Shang. I am so upset right now, you have no idea how. Susan will probably be power kept by a 5-star physical hunt character in the future, but for now she's an absolute beast. Also, she summons a chicken when she uses her ult. How can you not love that? So next up is March. Everyone already has her. She is a great unit with solid defensive capabilities. She can shield, draw aggro, and freeze enemies, making her a powerhouse defensive unit. Plus, she gets some extra brownie points against enemies weak to ice because she can help break their toughness bar a bit faster thanks to her girl power talent. Plus, this works with any shield, not just hers, and a lot of people have been running her with the Fire Blazer or Clara since they have so much synergy. Her E1 is pretty good since she has high energy cost, and it is especially effective against multiple enemies, even more so if you have high effective hit rate on your substats or are against multiple enemies who are weak to ice. Her E2 is just good, nothing more to say about it. Her E4 is a bit lackluster. It's nice for extra weakness break, but realistically you're building her for mitigation and utility, not damage and weakness break. Her E6 seems strong on paper, but I'm not entirely sure if it's as strong in practice. Either way, adding extra healing to your team will always be welcome. Overall, a very solid character. Getting her E1 and working towards that E6 will definitely be a benefit for your account. Last but certainly not least of the 4 stars is Tingyun, the second best Harmony character in the game, only second to Bronya. She grants increased attack which lasts for 3 turns, which is absolutely massive, especially for your skill point economy. She does some extra lightning damage on the side fairly consistently throughout the battle. It grants a whopping 50 energy, which is absolutely insane. To put that into perspective, that's like killing 5 enemies or using a skill and a normal attack, which could otherwise cost 2 turns. Especially for characters with a lower energy cost, it's pretty big. For characters that have a 90 or 100 energy cost, that's half of their total energy bar. Even on someone like Celia with 120 energy cost, that's still 40% of her total energy bar. On top of this, it grants a damage increase. Her E1 increases speed, which is quite nice. This will pretty much always trigger given that you always want to boost your damage as much as possible before ulting your carry. She grants her buffed allies an extra 5 energy when they kill an enemy once per turn, which again is very nice. Her E4 just makes her deal more damage. And her E6 grants even more energy. With the E6, your Sealy will have half her energy bar generated. So to sum up, she grants a lot of energy generation, damage boosts, and does a decent amount of passive damage herself. She provides all these benefits with very little to no downside. Overall, she's an S tier character, probably the best 4-star character in the game, and I would highly recommend you spend your Stellar J to try and at least get a copy of her. I imagine that she will be pretty power creep resistant given that energy generation and all these other buffs that she provides will always be in demand. Okay, so now we can finally talk about the Cloud Warrior himself. First off, I want to disclaim, if you like him, go for him. It is your decision, but if you're the kind of person that is like on the fence or concerned with making your account more powerful, then this advice should help you make your choice. But again, it is just my advice. It is your choice whether or not to take it. Jing Yuan, despite being an erudition character, excels in both single target and AoE damage, making him a force to be reckoned with in the late game. But of course, his main strong point is the AoE electro damage. A large portion of his damage comes from his Summon Lightning Lord, which attacks a random enemy, I repeat, a random enemy, and deals damage to adjacent targets. This basically means that he is a character and a half, thanks to his summon. However, this Lightning Lord has a very big problem. His speed is only 60, which means that the Lord's actions occur at a glacial speed. This is further amplified by the fact that if Jing is affected by crowd control debuffs, the Lord will not take action. So if Jing gets imprisoned or frozen, that halts and slows down the Lord even more. You are unable to directly buff the Lord with Harmony characters. However, conversely, the Lord's damage is still affected by Nihility characters, like defense reduction. This means that Jing is going to be pretty powerful with Nihility characters. Because of high multipliers and his kit synergy, and with the free crit that he gets, he can deal a truckload of damage and weakness break. But these benefits are conditional. If you can offset these conditions, he will be a monster. But wait, I'm not done yet. The bigger issue is how effective he will be for your overall account, not just him on an individual level. All of us have Serval. She's also in the shop and will probably be available in future events, similar to how in Genshin we have events that grant a free 4-star character. Chances are you'll get a lot of copies of Serval. Serval has a similar functionality to Jing and that she also does a lot of AoE electro damage. Now this is very, very, very far away from Jing Yuan's own damaging capabilities, but she still fulfills the role of an electro AoE DPS. She might not be nearly as good, but she's probably going to be good enough. Kafka is also coming in 1.2 or 1.3 alongside Blade, given that they were both playable in the beta test and are relevant to the current storyline. Kafka is also an AoE electro DPS. Will she be as strong or stronger than Jing? Potentially, but the main point is that there are now 2 characters that fulfill a similar role to what Jing fulfills. At this stage of the game, because we're so early on and still developing our account, you're gonna want a lot of different characters with different damage types that fulfill different roles. It seems like the game and characters were specifically designed this way so that Hoyo can make more money, of course. You can make the argument that you might need like 2 electro DPS characters, and that could be true down the line, but you're still going to get a lot more value out of having a more variety of different elements and roles. So basically my free-to-play advice is to choose between Electro Daddy, Electro Mommy, or Guitar Girl. No, not that one, the other one. Me personally, I'm going for Kafka because holy smokes when she does that boom thing. So to sum things up, is Jing a super strong character? Yes. Is he future and power creep proof? Maybe. Are there other characters that can fulfill a similar role? Yes. Is he someone you will regret pulling for? Probably not. Is he husband material? Hell yes. But again, that's just from a meta and power perspective. Pull for the characters you want. Overall, his banner is very good value as virtually all the units on it have some utility or fulfill a needed role. Their eidolons are pretty juicy as well. Light Cone banner, I'm not even going to review it because it's literally just a scam. Getting more characters is like a bajillion times more better at this stage of the game. Maybe it will be worth in like 2 or 3 years from now, at least for free-to-play players. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching to the end. If you liked it, then consider subbing for more content from me. But as always, remember to take care and have a lovely day.